Do you ever get nervous when the call or the mom walks up to schedule the appointment? Scheduling techniques. Our topic for today on Quick Start Your Success. Today, as we talk about scheduling, I want you to think of a mindset of being a guide. This is actually the opposite of what we were talking about in our last lesson when we were talking about deferring. This is the one time when I want you to stand your ground and be the guide. All too often we get it backwards and we have to uncross that. Think of it. There are times when we say, I'm going to put you on hold, and then, when would you like to come in? No, we need it to be the exact opposite. So last time, the art of deference. This time, being the guide. Let's get started. Here's the realities when we're trying to schedule someone for their appointment. Not everyone is a fire personality, but because we all want to control our own calendars, it is a fire scenario. And do you remember, what do fires need? Options and authority. I want you to have the right mindset. Two pictures here to help us think of the way that we should when we are in the seat of scheduling appointments. The first being an air traffic controller. You are the predictor of the success or non-success of the future. You've got your own crystal ball. You've got your grid, and you are scheduling patients. That is going to be a predictor of the way your 6-week, 8-week, 10, 12, 14, however you schedule those days out, you are setting up that day for success or failure. You're controlling the flow because you cannot cheat the amount of time that the bottleneck of the doctor is on the practice. There's only a few number of them and many other assistants and many other patients. Think of an air traffic controller. Do you ever think they are negotiating with a pilot? A pilot would not dare say, yeah, that looks like there's a big enough gap. I want to squeeze in there. You ain't doing that. So don't do it either. Set them up for success not only on how the day runs and its timing, but so that there is enough time for quality care and not rushing. The other way I want you to think of this is being a guide. Well, let's say I got a wild hair and I wanted to climb Mount Everest. Yes, I would train, I would practice, I would do all these things and hire a guide. But when the realities hit, I may want to take a break. So I may say to the guide, I'm tired. Can we rest? And it's the guide's job at that time to remind me of my ultimate goal. Amy, yes, we could rest now, but if we do, we are not reaching the summit. And if we don't reach the summit today, the season closes and it'll be next year. So which would you prefer? Be like, you're right. Let's get going. Sometimes our patients forget their short-term goal of making this next appointment in light of the long-term and ultimate goal, which is to get done with treatment. So we're going to use a two-option technique, which is what fires need because it gives options, A and B, and it gives authority. Which one do you want? So I want you to think of providing the options as a statement. They're facts. The time options are facts, not a suggestion, not a think about it. Have you ever watched a mom on the McDonald's Playland? Some moms are very ineffective. They say, Johnny, you want to go? Okay. It's a wish. It's not a command. It's not anything other than a wish. I hope they do it. And many times I hear people offering appointments. I have a 2:00. Okay. Could you come in at that time? No, you are a guide. Think of the other mom who says, Johnny, we'll be going in 5 minutes. Do you understand? The question comes afterwards, not in the midst of facts. Now, especially when we're on the phone, we want to use that follow-up question. It not only passes the authority, but it keeps you from accidentally slipping the question into your voice when you're saying the times. So, let's look at this more. Mrs. Jones, Dr. Smile has availability at this or this. Which one works best for you? See how that worked? I want you to notice this. We use the doctor's name as a position of authority because he's recommended that, or his availability is that. And then we even guide them to the A or B by saying, which one? Because which one makes it sound like a limited choice as opposed to, do either of those work for you? Which sounds like, okay, here's 2 out of maybe a bag of 100, 2 more. You want those? No? Okay. And more. No. Guide them into the A or B. Yes, they may pick C, none of the above, but at least you keep working with this technique. This or this. Which one works better? Now think of those times when you may have an open schedule. Say it's for an appointment where the day is still open. You can say, I have options as early as 8 and as late as 4 with things in between. Which would you prefer? And that will start narrowing it down. Do not go in and provide 8, 10, 10, 12, 10. Well, they can't see it and they cannot imagine it. So keep it down to 2 options. Setting expectations and offering this flexibility. If there is a limitation, such as a morning or long or other things, that the options are going to be limited, say so up front. Don't make them work so hard to have to figure that out. Remember when I was telling you about the airline pilot? They work so hard to get you on the plane, close the door, roll out to the tarmac, and you sit. Ugh. Well, if the pilot comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the wait. Tower control has told us we will have wheels up in 10 minutes. If there are any further updates, I will let you know. You look at your watch and you think, not happy about it, but okay. And you settle in for that 10-minute wait. But if the same thing happens and the pilot says nothing, you're like, oh, what now? How long is it going to be? What's going on? Why don't they update it? Why don't they tell me? That same sensation is happening to your callers or your parents standing in front of you when you make them guess at, well, if I want 2 o'clock, how about next week? No, I don't have anything. How about next week? No, I don't have anything. They think if they go out far enough, they're going to get what they want, when in reality, there's a limitation. So go ahead and say it up front. Then, if there is flexibility, make that known as well. You could say something such as, I have a last-minute opening tomorrow, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks out. Let them know. Or if you have a last-minute cancellation list, let them know of that flexibility as well. Let's make sure we're all repeating the same message over and over again, so the front desk doesn't have to be the bad guy on this. So we do things such as this. The administrative team give a handout as patients start their treatment explaining how the rhythm of appointments flows and that there are some things that do have to happen during the daytime hours. And then keep reminding them as they make the appointment. Now this will be one of those long appointments. Clinicians, you say it too. As you're getting ready to let them know as they're walking up to the front, say, you will be scheduling one of our morning appointments because we're doing extra work. And doctors, you do the same thing. Don't leave your clinicians and your administrative team stranded. You say it as well. Johnny, I'll be seeing you, and it will be a morning appointment because we're going to be doing lots of work next time. So here's what it would look like. Mrs. Jones, Dr. Smile has prescribed a longer appointment that requires greater detail. As you remember, this is one of those morning appointments we discussed. It will be in the 10 or 11 a.m. hour, so do you prefer a Monday, Tuesday, or a Wednesday, Thursday? Which would be best? And then you start narrowing it down. because it's really not so much about time as the day at that point. Space and silence. Wow, this can be a really effective technique. So let's think about these things. When you're offering times, lead with guiding words, not question words. So it would be, I do have 8 or 10, not like, how about 8 or 10? That way you will make sure you stay in a statement mode. Then, think about this. If you give up control in this scheduling area, it's hard to regain it. And all of a sudden, when I listen to calls, the caller sounds like the one who's setting the appointment. Think of it this way. Have you ever gone to a party when you're standing around in a circle? We tend to keep a certain amount of space and personal space between us. Even as the group gets bigger, there's a certain amount of space and it tends to rotate and move around the room. Well, the same thing happens on the phone and in person when we're working into this space of scheduling. If you all of a sudden say, when would you like to come in? It's almost like you've invited them onto your side of the desk, and trying to get them to move out doesn't happen. You actually step back. Or if you're like, I don't know, Mrs. Jones, when would you like to come in? I don't know. And they start leaning into your space. Hold your space in an upright manner. It is your right and it is your job to take control of the schedule. And then after you've provided options, hush. Don't say a word. Don't rescue them. We had someone who worked on our team. This young woman, curly blonde hair, a Pollyanna disposition, and she was a master at this. I thought, oh my goodness, she's going to be eaten alive, because she was watching me do it, and then I shadowed and watched her. And the first time she was doing this, it was one of those moms who came up, and I thought, oh my goodness, she's going to get eaten alive. But there she was. Mrs. Jones, I see Dr. Demas had recommended a time for you, and it will be in the afternoon. I have a 1 o'clock or a 2 o'clock. Which one works better for you? She sat there, and she smiled. The mom's flipping through her calendar, and I am getting so anxious. I'm about ready to do that infamous pointing over and going, there's 3 and 4 o'clock. And as I'm about ready to do that, the mom says, all right, I'll take 2. You're like, whoa, okay, that was amazing. And she did it over and over again. Sure, there were times somebody asked for a different time, but it works so often. Don't rescue them. Later, I sat with that young woman and I said, I was amazed. You had times later in the afternoon, yet you offered the first in the afternoons. And I asked her thought process. And she said, well, you told me to take control of my calendar, so I did. I started with the harder to schedule ones. If she takes it, great. If she doesn't, I look like a hero by slipping down to the next hour or 2 and looking like I did a wonderful thing for them. It works. Sit in the silence and let them respond. Here's what it looks like. Guiding words. Let's go ahead and schedule that appointment. So don't let somebody walk out the door. Don't let somebody call in and ask to reschedule and say, would you like to reschedule? Would you like to make an appointment? No. Use let's go ahead and get that scheduled. Then we start with the first available appointment is, it's a guiding word, not, so when were you thinking of coming back in? Stay in a guide mode. Then advise and notate. There are going to be times when they say, no, I want option C, whatever that option is, late at night, early in the morning, an inconvenient day for us. We have to advise them of our recommendation and the unintended consequence. So if they continue to say, I'm only coming in at 4:30, and you say, well, that's going to push us out another 6 to 8 weeks, and they insist on it, note it in the chart. That way, when they get to the time when they feel they should be done, because you know that If an orthodontist says treatment's going to be done in 18 months, it's like they set it on their calendar, and 18 months, 1 second the alarm's going off, and they say, why am I not done? That way, with the notations, the doctor and the clinicians can actually look through and say, Mrs. Jones, I see 4:30 was a very important factor for you. And since that has happened several times, adding 4 weeks on each time, we're actually ahead of schedule. It helps to provide a level of communication. It would look like this. Yes, I'd be glad to look at that time for you, realizing that does push us out farther than intended, adding time to treatment. Do you wish for me to continue to look for 4:30 or something closer to what our doctor recommended? Leave the choice up to them. You cannot make them choose, but at least you've made them aware. Just like that guide example of Mount Everest. I want you to get so very strong and sure of yourself in the scheduling time. If you do that, you're going to close the gap on the time it takes to schedule those appointments, and you're going to help the clinic run more effectively. So until next time, go communicate excellence.